Join me today and get your coffee. Today, see, he got me messed up. Gotta start.
You ready to start again?
Yep.
Yes. 5, 4, 3.
Get your coffee and join me today with Carla Engel from Hyman Hospice.
(145/92).
180 over 111.
I had a heart attack, a cardiac arrest, and then a stroke.
This is what high blood pressure looks like. You might not feel its symptoms, but the results from a heart attack or stroke are far from invisible or silent. Get back on your plan, or talk with your doctor to create an exercise, diet, and medication plan that works for you. Go to loweryourhbp.org.
If I would have followed a treatment plan, I would not be in this situation.
Welcome to DHC Coffee Break. I'm excited about my guest today, Carla Engel from Hyman Hospice. I had the pleasure of talking with you recently. Today, or actually March, is Social Worker Month, and I just would like to kind of talk a little bit about your social worker by trade or by profession.
Yes.
You now are at Hyman Hospice, and you are the bereavement coordinator.
That's
But since it is National Social Worker, let's talk about month. Let's talk a little bit about your career path, what led you to be a social worker, and how you became to be the bereavement coordinator at Hyman.
Okay, well, thank you.
Speak up a little bit.
All right. Thank you for having me today. I went to college for a social work degree as a non-traditional student. So I felt led in particular just into helping Phil because I've been one of those people, I guess, throughout high school and later in life that just tends to talk to a lot of my friends. I'm the one that they pick up the phone and call and was throughout my life. And so I feel like it kind of called me maybe. And as I really did not know exactly what career path in social work I would choose because there's a number of directions you can go. But when I was doing my internship, or about to do my internship, my instructor asked me where I wanted to do my field placement, and I said, well, give me some suggestions. And she mentioned hospice, and I said, okay. Really had not thought about that one at the time, but I said, sure. And so I did that, and it was just a perfect fit for me. And I had personal experience in that area as well because I had lost both my parents, and my dad was the most recent loss at the time, and I had hospice care with him. So it just felt natural to me, I guess, because I had been on the other side.
Okay. Well, before we get into the hospice care, let's talk a little bit. Some people might not truly understand, because a lot of people think of when they hear social worker, they immediately go to Department of Family and Children's Service, DFACS, take away kids, or, the really negative part of social work. So can we just back up a minute and explain what truly is social work?
Well, social work is helping others, and many times it is removing them from a dangerous, life-threatening situation, but not always. There are many different paths. One, of course, is the side where, someone may report abuse or neglect, and this could be children, it could be elderly, a number of things like that. But then also there's social workers that work in the hospital setting.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that's discharge planning. So it might be helping them set up equipment in the home before they're discharged home from the hospital. It might be perhaps there's a need such as, food, someone to help with services as far as cleaning, just a number of things in that way.
Yeah, social work is so broad. I think that, I hate to see that a lot of people, when they hear social work, unfortunately, they do look at it from kind of, they see the negative side of it, and they don't really realize how broad a spectrum social work is. And then, of course, you have the clinical side of social work on more of a counseling side, and looking at the systemic issues of helping on an individual basis, but also, family counseling and helping with the family dynamic of what's going on. Or like you said, with hospital discharge, what does the family need once somebody is discharged from the hospital or nursing home, once they, get home. It's not just, and it's not just taking a family away from, children away from a family. It's really trying to help that family stay together more than taking away from that family. With hospital or nursing home discharge, how do you help that family stay together and get, excuse me, the family needs met, looking at that whole system of the family?
Well, oftentimes, even though there may be someone that's being removed from the home, it is for the goal of putting them back together. And a number of services can be utilized. Maybe if there's education needed for parents, maybe the neglect issue, or even abuse could be a lack of knowledge. And so many times those are just a call for help. It's just times that there may be education on, that's needed on caring for, whether it's the elderly, whether it's, the child. And those are done. And those are done for the purpose of reuniting the family hopes. That's the goal.
And creating truly care plans. How can we care for this unit, this large unit of family? And then in even a broader spectrum of working in a community, preventative care. How can we help prevent big social issues or social problems within the community? So it's not even just a family. It could be even broader than that on social work. How can we help the community if there's a problem? A lot of preventative care in social work.
Right.
So, I like to look, we are going to get more into the smaller issue of working in hospice, but because it is it is Social Work Month in March, we want to look at, hey, what do social workers do, and make sure that people understand the positive aspect of social work.
Yes.
And that this is a group of people who really get together and look at, and I think of the healthcare movement, the health, public health. Social workers are very key in the public health, in that public health care movement, of how do we prevent things in our community to keep our community healthy.
Right.
And I think that's a very, very positive aspect of what social workers do.
That's right. Social workers help with a lot of education and teaching, and education is power.
Oh,
and,
absolutely.
There's just so many people that fall into a bad place because of lack of education. And so with social work being a generalist practice, there's just so many different areas that, different areas that you can choose electives in when you're going through the program. And it's just choosing the population group that you want to work with.
And I think that's a key aspect. Like you said, when you decided to go into the program, you were like, what do I really want to do? What kind of electives do I want to take? What path do I want to take? And you said one of my absolutely favorite things, education is power. The more information, the more knowledge that we can gain, it gives us power to make informed decisions.
Exactly.
And I talk to my students, the other aspect of it is life is a journey. The destination obviously is important. I mean, we got to get somewhere. I know you said you're from Fort Payne.
Yes.
And when I was telling you where we were, I said, well, we're kind of right around from the corner, but you know, you not being familiar with this area, obviously you had to get here. This was your destination. And this was my destination this morning. But we each had different paths on our journey to get here. So the destination was important, but it was our journey. And you know, to me, life is a journey. And that journey and how we get here, to me, is just as important as the destination. And life is a journey. And, you know, as we move towards the next part of our segment and continue on this segment, we're all going to die. There's two things I believe in life. One is we're born. Can't deny that. We're here, or, you know, that's kind of the process. So we were born some way. And we're going to die. Now, what happens in between, to me, is what's important. The destination is death at some point. But to me, it's that journey in between. The other thing we kind of know, I think, is we're always going to have taxes, you know.
Oh, yes.
Got to have a little sense of humor, you know.
That's right.
If you're
That's
not doing
right.
it right, you're not having fun. You can define it how you want to.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the journey. And our destination is going to be the same. We're going to die. But it's the journey. And life is a journey to me. And it's that journey that makes it exciting. And there's going to be a lot of detours on that journey. You know, you may set out for the destination, but on the way here, you get detoured. And you think, oh, golly, why did I get detoured? Well, you may not know, you may have hit that deer on the way if you would have come straight here. And that would have been bad. But you know what? That detour may have taken us on. We might have missed that beautiful sunrise that we might have not seen coming straight through. There's a lot of things we might have missed if we would have came straight to the destination. So
That's right.
to me, life is a journey, and it's a beautiful journey, even if we hit detours along that way. So just as important to me, and I'm sorry I'm talking more, and I mean I need to get you talking more, but so I'm in my teaching mode. I got to get out of that. But it's that journey, and I'm teaching my deaf and dying class right now. Have you read the book The Alchemist?
No, I haven't.
Oh, Carly, you got to read the book The Alchemist.
Okay.
It's about this journey. This boy goes on this journey. And so as we start to talk about the Alchemist, hospice, that we're leading up to the destination, but it's the journey to get there. So we've got about 3 minutes, and then we're going to go into our next segment, but let's start now talking about the journey and how people are afraid to talk about the journey leading up to death.
Right. Well, you know, it still is taboo, you know, in many settings, but hospice is coming around. And I love the word journey. That's one of my favorite words. With hospice, I guess the most important thing is that hospice focuses on quality of life rather than quantity. Mm-hmm. And it's all in how you look at it. You're talking a lot about, I guess, the positive aspects and how it's really in how you look at it. We're trying to make the most of those last few days, few hours, weeks, months, even minutes. You know, it varies. But it's making the most. And focusing on, you know, not what we can't do, but what we can do. And just being positive and being real. Trying to bring, you know, families to a point of acceptance. And many times, most times really, when someone's admitted to hospice, it's not the patient that's resistant, it's the family. You know, it sometimes can be the patient, but most times family.
And I think that's a good place to start with our next segment. So everybody get your coffee, and we'll be right back with GHC Coffee Break.
Eva Marie smoked 12,000 packs of cigarettes over 15 years. She quit, and now there's a new lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking. Now start screening. No matter how much you smoked, early detection could save you. Talk to your doctor or learn more at savedbythescan.org.
All right, welcome back to GHC Coffee Break. I'm really excited to have Carla here. Carla, we stopped in our last segment talking about family. I want to back up just a minute and let you, a lot of people have misconception of what hospice is, and then we'll get back to family. But explain to people, people are a lot of times afraid when they hear I'm going, or family members going into hospice, or I got to go to hospice, that it's a death sentence. And I know personally of a friend who went into hospice and actually came out of hospice for years, and then eventually did go back into hospice, and she did die. But let's talk about just for a moment, and could you define hospice or explain what hospice is? It's not necessarily a death sentence.
No, absolutely not. We do have a number of patients, like you spoke of, that graduate from hospice.
I like that, graduate.
That's the way we refer to it. And first of all, to qualify for hospice service, a person must have been diagnosed with a terminal illness that you can die from in 6 months or less with the natural progression of the disease. Mm-hmm. But, you know, doctors don't always know. Mm-mm. And we admit people on service sometimes, and for them to continue to qualify, then their health must show a decline in the natural progression of the disease. And if that doesn't happen, then they graduate. And then a lot of times that means they may move on to home health, or sometimes discharge from, you know, just back to their regular physician for routine service, you know, routine care. But there's a number of diagnoses that they could have. It might be cancer, it might be COPD, let's see, I'm trying to think, could be kidney disease, liver failure, just mainly, I guess, it's someone that's not on curative services, curative mm-hmm. care. And, you know, we do everything possible. The doctors and nurses, everyone on our staff, are experts in pain management. That's mm-hmm. one of the big things with hospice.
Palliative care.
Yes, managing pain.
Mm-hmm.
So our goal is to, you know, help our patients to become as pain-free as possible.
And I think that that's important, it's dying with dignity, you know, and it's, sometimes I think we've got to remember that we have the right to do that. And I think that it's wonderful we have hospice, and that we begin to stop, you know, we're not too shy about talking about sex. It's time for us to start talking about death with the same I mean, unfortunately, we do have a lot of violence on television, and recently we've seen some pretty serious violence with the school shootings recently. that was pretty horrific. So we see a lot of violent death, but we still are not talking about the death from the cancers, the non-treatable diseases out there, and it's still, we're afraid of talking about those deaths that are the natural death, the natural process of living to dying. The next aspect is what you do, is the bereavement counseling, the aftermath. That's the other part that people really have a hard time dealing with, and that's one of my areas too, is what I call post-vengeance. I didn't create the word, but you know, how do you deal with after someone's died, the grieving process, because there's no recipe. Yeah, Kubler-Ross came up with the stages of death, but we know that not everybody goes through the grieving process. It's not 1, 2, 3. We go through, you know, denial, shock, acceptance, which I hate that word. I'm more of an adjustment person. I can adjust to what's happened, that loss, that death, whatever. But acceptance means kind of receiving something with joy. I can adjust to the death. To me, acceptance, when my son died and when my daughter died, that word never fit for me, but I could adjust to it. I could adjust and learn how to live differently to my new norm. But acceptance was not a word for me that I could ever hang on to. But when I turned that word around and made an adjustment, okay, I could adjust to my new norm. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So that word, acceptance, never fit for me, but adjustment did. That's me personally. I don't want to claim it for someone else, but for me personally, and for some clients that I work with, adjustment helped them better than the word acceptance. Mm-hmm. But that aftermath of whether it's a traumatic loss or a loss that was ongoing to the final dying, there's not a recipe. There's not a 1, 2, 3 and it's over, and you know, anniversaries are the only time, or you know, something come up, that's the only time we relive that or have that grief again. It's different for everybody, and to recognize the individuality of grief is really important.
Right, that's true.
So, you know, being a bereavement coordinator, you know, kind of help people understand what that really means for you and what you do.
Well, one thing that my job can entail is what's called anticipatory grief. Mm. And there are times that they might ask me to go and visit a family that has had maybe there was a tragedy, maybe there was a wreck, you know, some type of accident that has caused a person to be, you know, diagnosed as terminally ill. And, you know, in times like that, it's hard to accept, you know, if it's, especially when it's, you know, it's not expected.
Right.
And so all of our staff help with anticipatory grief. And it just, a lot of times that may mean that I'm going in and talking with individuals separately, you know, family members individually. And because sometimes we encounter a family that each one's trying to be strong for the other.
Yeah.
No one can really be real because everyone wants to be strong. Mm-hmm. And it might be one-on-one with me or with other members of our team that they can be real. And so it makes it easier for them to carry the load when they have someone that they can be real with.
Yeah, that makes a difference.
And so anticipatory grief, like I said, that's one part of what I do. But most often it's after the loss, after our patient has died. Or it may not even be that it's a patient on our service. Hyman Hospice provides services to the entire community, you know, the surrounding areas as well. And we do not just provide services for families who've had a patient on our service. Okay. It might mean, meeting with someone that has lost a loved one that was not on hospice, for whatever reason, or maybe they were on another hospice, whatever. We strive to meet the needs of anyone. And meeting those needs may mean me talking with them individually. It might mean they come by and speak with me privately at the office. It might mean I go out and meet with them in the home. It may mean coming to group. We have several different support groups that meet. And as a matter of fact, there was one we just started last week, and I said, I love your word journey. It's called Journey Through Grief.
Oh, I like that.
And so it's a program that's by Alan Wolfelt, and it's been very successful.
Good.
Marsha Atkins was...
Love Marsha.
She's wonderful. She's been a great inspiration to me. She was bereavement coordinator for many years at Hyman Hospice and just retired last summer.
She just graduated.
Yes, she graduated. And so anyway, she used that program very successfully. Yeah. So I'm continuing that as well. But
that's awesome. And there's so many positive things. And we've had student interns out at Hyman and have been very pleased with the program and the experiences they've gotten to have out there. So Georgia Highlands is very pleased to partner with Hyman as well. And we really appreciate the experience that our students have gotten there. So that's a very beneficial for us, and we appreciate that.
Good.
Another one, we only have about a minute left. I know another piece that I've observed too is social death. Kind of that before they find out about a diagnosis, and a lot of times people begin to move away almost. That they're afraid to be with that person as they're going through that dying process, and they're almost have died before they really have died. That people, they lose that social contact. A lot of times is something we talk about in class too. So there's a lot of pieces of that journey that not only the person who is dying goes through, but also the family members. So it's a wonderful service that Hyman provides. We greatly appreciate you and what Hyman does for our community and surrounding area. So again, we appreciate Carla being here. Hopefully you've gotten a lot of information. Carla, thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
We'll be right back. Get your coffee, GHC Coffee Break.
My college offers classes that meet my educational and career goals,
with opportunities outside the classroom,
where the faculty know me by name. My college can prepare me for my career.
I can earn an associate's degree and transfer credits toward my bachelor's.
My college is a state college within the university system of Georgia.
My college is affordable.
It's close to home.
My college has online opportunities.
It's where excellence begins.
We are
GHC, Georgia Highlands College.
All right, Carol, welcome back to GHC Coffee Break. Carla, thank you. I was teasing earlier that I talked to several people with C names this week. Carla, thank you very much with coming and joining us for GHC Coffee Break. Again, March is Social Worker Month, Professional Social Work Month. I've really enjoyed not only talking about becoming a social worker, but also Hyman Hospice and what hospice care means. It's been wonderful. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the invitation.
And again, Hyman Hospice, local in Rome, Georgia. Thank you for joining me on GHC Coffee Break. And until next time, we'll see you on GHC Coffee Break. Y'all have a wonderful day.